We are going to discuss about the prediction of the United States for the next month. This video is dedicated for the astrofinance community via Patreon and the core community outside of Patreon. And this video is going to be available to general public 3-4 weeks after. If you want to get this sort of video and more of bonus predictions and monthly look ahead for crypto, for oil and gold and much more, just check the link below to join via Patreon. We're going to discuss about the United States. I shared with you an open question, what would you like to hear? And very interesting topics that people wrote down. But the most repeated one was about the United States, and I think that is very much dedicated to unveil what sort of energies we are expected to see from here on, and what sort of plan we could do on this. We are going to start seeing part of my screen how I'm looking on important dates in the chart of the United States. We just had the last days Jupiter stationed to move direct, Mercury moving direct on the same day with the Jupiter, Saturn moving direct, Pluto moving direct. So this is exactly the time to start seeing the new chapter of the movie that we haven't seen yet, and it seems to be very enormous to take the world to the final change that started when Saturn and Pluto met in January 2020. So we haven't seen the entire consequences of what this COVID is and all what the inflation and the crypto rally and the belief in the system, the vaccine. This is something, the real meal, and the changes are about to come. And this is a divine justice, divine plan, specifically when Mars right now is in Libra, that finished the cycle, still invisible, of course. That what's the win-win situation? We could not win someone without damaging ourselves. We are all connected somehow. And if the divine plan wants the best for everybody, or to most of us, it's a very complicated game right now, what to move, which piece to take out to avoid suffer in a massive scale. So we are looking on those days of October, just to have reference, and we see that Saturn just stationed on the south node of the United States, on the same time that Pluto opposed in 24 degrees, opposing Mercury of the United States. We had another events that were related to this opposition since January 2020 with Saturn and Pluto conjunction. Indeed, they met in 22 degrees, but it affected Mercury, and we saw the attack on the United States through the Tether and through the digital dollar. And all what is happening, to my opinion, with the pandemic is to hide or to distract people from the real war that is happening on the infrastructure, who is holding the infrastructure of the world. And this is not ending, because Pluto now is moving direct, and it's going to do a Pluto return. We're going to see this in this video in 27 degrees. Pluto of the United States in 27 degrees, where it was in 1775, the Independence War, and against the British Empire that controlled the American colony. What else we are having is that asteroid Eris in 24 degrees is squaring this opposition of Mercury, Pluto, very much restructuring and taking it's like it's so long transits because it's so heavy structure, and it must to be slow. It's lasting already this Pluto Aries square for 1 year and a half, and it's continued square that is distracting and disturbing to the old system to continue the way it was. And indeed, it's creating chaos, and we are speaking about food shortages, and we are speaking about the infrastructure of how even we are traveling, about borders, about relationship between countries. Jupiter is also moving direct now, and it's in 22 degrees. So it's going to enter to the third house of the United States. That is the third house of the United States is opened by the sign of Aquarius, that is opened by 24 degrees when Pluto is opposing Mercury. It's all about the dollar, and we are going to see massive inflation in the beginning and continue dissolving of the dollar against the crypto and other things probably that we don't speak publicly. But on the same time, Neptune is ready to do all the next months a square to Mars. Neptune square to Mars is malicious. Is a malicious power that is also related to the vaccine. Neptune is the pharmaceutical, is a fantasy, is the Hollywood, is the TV, the media that is affected on Mars. And remember, if you know or not, that Hollywood right now is ruled by the Chinese, and what you are seeing in TV and in Netflix that they are ruling, it's pretty much designing and destroying the collective paradigm, or through the fear and through what they are doing. It's like injection on consciousness and on in bodies with something that maybe will implies to things that will come in the future through consciousness. So this is the setup of what we are having right now in October. This is the beginning of something that we haven't seen yet. Saturn stationed to move direct on the south node of the United States. The plan is set. They have everything in place right now to control people, but is also standing on a very old wound, how the British controlled the American colony before the Civil Revolution, the Civil War, not the Independence War. So let's start seeing what is coming as we are looking on the next solar eclipse to come in December 4th. And what is happening? The solar eclipse, new moon in Sagittarius, will happen exactly on the ascendant of the United States. When Mars become visible and near to Ketu, to the south node in the 12th house. This is very not good sign. It's reminding war, it's reminding violence. We are seeing also that Saturn in 14 degrees in this solar eclipse day, that is actually an indication, prediction for the next 6 months and also the decade, because the culmination of this eclipse will happen in 2030, and Mercury is squaring is trining with Saturn when Venus is near to Pluto, and Pluto is almost Pluto return, and Venus is going to retrograde on Pluto. This is attack on infrastructure, on money supply or food supply. This is opener in the United States. Look, the solar eclipse on the ascendant, on the synchronicity, on the synchronizing teeth of the wheel in the United States, something that will affect for 10 years ahead. Because this completion, this seed that is happening with what is about to happen in the next 6 months, is a seed for a major shift for the next 10 years. So, because the Jupiter that is entering officially to the third house, that is ruled by Mercury, that is in the eighth house, receiving this opposition from Venus and Pluto, this is a shift of currency. This is also a destroyment of currency through major inflation. Jupiter that will go on the moon of the United States. When people looking on Jupiter going on the moon is like a pregnancy. It's like installing something that the United States will create dependency on in other places. But this is something that we will not be able to see yet, but is to take back their control. It's a long-term putting the hand on resources. It's not something that we are going to see yet, but maybe we will see signs in the news that will come in the next 6 months after, between December to June. We are not going to have for the next 9 years eclipses in Sagittarius. So this is definitely speaking about the resources, things that we are already speaking about, shift of the USD dominancy, and also a lose of enemy or hidden enemies that weren't be considered. And the United States has enough enemies, and all the alliances that we are seeing happening in the last year and a half, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Saudi Arabia now trying to say it with Iran, and so many things in the network that we don't even aware to them, because I don't know, not everything is written in all medias at the same time. And China right now is trying to do the taking over of Taiwan, and they are threatening what they will do. It's all about alliances right now, and also people need to play with the same set of values of creating new alliances and platforms in order to and communities in order to play with the same cards to success. So the next 10 years is a big tension, geopolitical tension, with what is about to be seeded in world through the United States in the next 6 months. It also may lead for the lose power completely of the United States as we know it, like the dollar won't be that currency that everybody seeking to get. And it could be avoided by any violent attack. On the United States also, or that the United States will use their alliances to do something, like bombing in an enemy country in Iran, or that Iran will bomb some of the alliances of the United States. And this is a real fear, because I'm seeing things not nice in Israel, Natal chart, for example, and Saudi Arabia. It's about resources. So you don't need to bomb like September 11 inside of the United States. You need to do something to the friend of the United States. That is to disrupt to the network from third party. Then I want to show you the moment that Uranus will station to move direct. In 2020, exactly around the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, the Pluto-Saturn conjunction, Uranus stopped to move direct. And always when Uranus is stopping to move direct, we can see hints to what unexpectedly, what the divine plan can do, and it will happen on January 22nd. So, not easy at all. Neptune in 21 degrees will square Mars of the United States. As I'm saying, attack on alliance country of the United States. Because the Neptune is also opposing Neptune of the United States. This is another virus attack, potentially. You don't need to invest a lot of energy. This is just release, even in a piece of paper, sending a letter to somewhere, and the virus will start to spread all over in a place. And look, Neptune will do square to Mars in sky on the day that Uranus will move direct, and it's personally to the United States will do Neptune squaring Mars and Neptune opposing Neptune. On the same time, Pluto return and near to the Sun on the south node almost, when Mercury is retrograde in Aquarius near to Saturn, when we saw previously that in the solar eclipse Mercury was squaring Saturn. Now when Uranus will move direct, Mercury will retrograde near to Saturn. The beginning of 2022 is very dangerous. Just 2 years to the event that started in Wuhan, January 2020. And this is unexpected explosion or attack that it will be very hard for the United States to provoke, to prevent. And it's going to lead for the weakening or the fall of the structure of the United States as we know today. This expected Pluto return coming, and we had it for a one time in last March 2021, and it's retrograded. So we are seeing this destructuring. To those that are looking deeply to what is happening in geopolitical map in the world. And then I want to take you to two events, last events. First of all, the time in April 12th that Jupiter will meet Neptune in 23 degrees. Now, this event of April 12th is inside of the activation of what we saw in December 4th, the solar eclipse, the new moon in Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Now, Jupiter and Neptune both ruling also Pisces, and they will meet in the third house of the United States that is opened by Pisces and ruled by Mercury that is in the 8th house. This is a liquidation and attack, very big culmination, like this is the worst, this is the end. If people are asking me when this COVID end, maybe it will end because something much worse will appear already, but this is the bottom of the barrel in April 2012 into the culmination of this energy. And what is it doing to what we saw already before in the beginning of the year, January 12th, Neptune again opposing Neptune. Now it will be Jupiter and Neptune, very strong in Pisces, opposing the Neptune of the United States. This is very severe, very, very strong, and this is exactly already activation, complete activation of the Pluto return. Something huge is about to happen. And look, the moon on the same day of the conjunction, of the exact conjunction in 23 degrees, the moon, the white moon will meet the black moon, Lilith. It's like Eve meeting Lilith, the rebel, the lover, the prostitutes meets the wife. Okay? And it's going to oppose Saturn and Juno. This is a cheat or a harm of a very good friend of the United States or on the United States, but this is a disconnection. I don't know what to say with what it will come, because also Chiron will oppose Saturn. This is a release, also a release or a revelation of all those that actually, this is like the arrive to the bottom. This here we need to start ending the dark plan that was working and going to push very hard into March, April 2021. This is going to be the revelation of who were doing all this. Sometimes it's going to be very late, because Chiron will oppose Saturn, and Juno is like knowing who were controlling us and who actually provoked. This is also will be an excuse or a reason to start a war. Now Chiron will do opposition to the sun of the United States as well. This is a pain. United States in pain is blood. Chiron opposing Saturn and Chiron squaring the sun of the United States. When this is a Pluto return, what led to Pluto being in this location near to the South Node when United States born? Structure, abuse, that led them to be a king, North Node in Leo. But right now, this is the attack on the Leo, on who is the real God, with Aquarius, with external energies. That part of those external energies is represented by China. And on the same day of Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, it's going to be very near in sky, Sun, Mars, and Venus, but it's going to be Mars on the moon. It's attack. It's anger. It's explosion. So when I see such a chart, I would tell people, go away from the United States or prepare for war. Prepare for like a war situation. No health, no hospitals, no school, no many structures, no food. Or go away or start to manage how you are acting in such a thing. The bad news or the challenge is that I see around this time a lot of things in the world. So it's sort of nowhere to escape, because many places will be under this, like the COVID sort of thing. And then when I'm going to August 2022, that is after whatever should already happen, we are already in war. Jupiter will be in Aries, near to Chiron, who is ruling the control, and it's all squaring the sun. It's about liberating human rights, fighting for the freedom, fighting for the land. Mercury will be passing on Neptune. Okay, this is having every year, but it's just interesting to see how I just chose this timing why I chose this slide in August, because the North Node will conjunct with Uranus. It's happening in sky. And for the first time we are having this Rahu meeting Uranus in Taurus. This is major food shortages possible, exactly when Venus, the ruler of Taurus, in Leo on the North Node. So it's about resources, money, and a real fight for those resources. And this is going to be people fighting or changing the values. This is a revolution happening already. We are just seeing it into the summer. So those 4 months after the full activation of 2022, 22 is the real deal, my friends. Is the real deal. And I think that with this, I don't want to go further with this. Also, look, Neptune, 24 degrees, will do a sextile with Mercury, when on the same time Mercury, 22 degrees on Neptune, that recently just received. This is like understanding and fighting on the truth, liberating, but is also a sort of losing hope, or finding new way to fix the situation. This is already like the fight on the rights, on the resources. So, and look, the moon will be in Taurus near to Mars in this time. This is huge thing about money and about resources, food. So with all what I said so far, this is the unveiling of this. It's like hard, I don't want to say, it's going to be a war. It's going to start in New Hampshire and it will last to Los Angeles. I cannot say those exact thing what will happen. I'm just showing you the map. Expect to major upheavals in 2022 in the United States, and to what I'm going to show in the future, I'm seeing it happening in other countries too. And this is a time for withdrawing out from the dependency in the system we know today, and to create networks between us through other servers, as Mr. Trump now is doing with his new social media. And a lot of new information is about to unveil, that people could not be quiet to what is going to unveil, to how much crime was happening beneath us. I don't know. I'm part of this soup, just trying to give consciousness to what is actually inside us, around us. People will survive it. Some people will have a very good time. Not all will suffer. But it's all about consciousness. If you are starting to create new resources, new set of money, new set of values, new set of what is housing, where to live, how to live, with who to live, where we are registering to get the electricity, where we are registering to get the water. No, we are not registering. We are creating something that start investing in technology, start investing in equipment. Store it somewhere. Don't wait that everything will appear at once. But yeah, in my personal case, I'm not purchasing any equipment, but I'm just learning to create a network in different places of the world. It's also asset. Also thinking about investing in my health, in my well-being, in being able to be a light traveler, in knowing how to move in different places and situations is another sort of investment. And training your adaptability, your flexibility, and how to contribute and how to connect with other networks and with other communities, with other groups, whether online or physically. There are so many ways how we don't need to do everything at the same time. Not everybody needs to buy land at the same time. Not everybody needs to buy solar batteries at the same time. Each one something. With what he can, with what he feels correct for him, for her. This is all for this bonus research prediction for the United States. And we're in touch. See you in the next video topic. Bye for now.